Yeah, exactly. But it's never my fault either. So but yeah, we'll kick off things now. Thanks for everybody who's joining and jumping on. Hopefully this thing's gone live. I'm just testing it out this morning. Yeah, it looks to be good. So we'll rock and roll and see how we go. So this is the Barayamal Q&A, which is where we interview Indigenous entrepreneurs and industry experts like Maddie, and the Barayamal community can jump on and join the conversation and post any questions they have on the Facebook page, and we can answer in time. So nice and live. For the people that don't know, Matt is a proud Torres Strait Islander. His family hail from Barayamal Island, located in the eastern cluster of the Torres Strait. You have quite an interesting background, and so you went from the Navy to accounting. Can you just give us a bit of background on how do you go from a Navy officer, sailing around, complete freedom, having a bunch of fun, to be crunching numbers?
There are actually some similarities between the two. But I guess the key thing was that I did what's called a look forward test. So I thought about where was I going to end up in 5 to 10 years. And sadly, the overwhelming experience seemed to be overweight, separated or divorced or on my second marriage, and overwhelmingly not happy. So I looked at other career options, and I actually wrote an email and a letter to the two accounting professions, two bodies, to look at options there. And I also considered becoming an actuary as well. I looked at the timelines and realised that accounting was quicker, but the key attraction was it gave me the greatest number of options as a career path. So I could go into, say, pure accounting for a company. I could public practice, or I could use it as a stepping stone into banking or finance.
Yeah. And how has that been so far? Like, it's been, 5-10 years now?
Yeah, actually, this year's my in October will be 10 years since I put my resignation in. April next year is 10 years since I separated from the Navy. So, I've now spent more time outside than I spent in service. So, it's an interesting milestone to be.
Yeah. And are you enjoying it a lot more with the civil life?
It's the little things. It's the ability to be able to go, you know what, I don't need to come to work today, or I'm sick, but you don't have to go to work to say you're sick, so you can get the day off. As I'm sure you'll remember from your days in the Air Force.
Yeah, good old Air Force days. So where I was a lot fitter and a lot slimmer. So, God. So what are you doing now?
Yeah.
What's keeping you
What am I
busy?
doing
You
now?
just started your own firm?
Yeah, that's right. So launched Saga September last year, and it's working well. It's starting to actually gain some traction within the marketplace, which is good. And
Nice.
one of the things that made me, an accounting firm to launch my own practice was that I thought that the accounting, not the accounting world, but Indigenous SME were particularly ill served just because of the fewer number of Indigenous accountants. So if I targeted my practice at that niche of the market, then I'd be able to grow my own business, really, and that's proven relatively accurate thus far.
Yeah. And did you find there was especially a need? Obviously, there was a shortage of Indigenous accountants, but did you think, just from a cultural point, a community point, that the big four and the big accounting firms weren't really delivering on?
I think there's a number of issues at play. So one's technical competence, the second is cost, and the third is cultural competency. So it's understanding the interplay of all three factors. So you can have someone who's technically excellent, but might be expensive, which will rule them out of the marketplace for community organisations or even a lot of SMEs. And even if they've got that cost fact are reasonably priced and they're still competent, they may not be culturally equipped. So if I could set myself in between and where I can hit all three boxes, then that's where I've positioned my firm.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And so what's been your experience at the moment servicing Indigenous SMEs? What have been some of the problems and challenges you found? Because you've done a bit of auditing with Oric too, I think. So.
Yeah, that's right. I guess the key thing is it's the same issues that impact upon the non-Indigenous sector with the SME world. So it's issues over cash flow management, technical expertise, internal processes and procedures, and understanding how the actual business can work and how you can improve it. But what I find is that you'll have all those skill sets. It's just being able to flesh them out and bring them to the fore.
Okay. So we got one question here from Christine Sidley. Well, firstly, she
Oh, we do
wants
have watchers. Oh, this is awesome.
do it live. Like it's a bit, hit and miss at the moment. Still getting used to the technology. I'm just a country boy, so getting used to it. But
so are we both, mate.
yeah, firstly, she wants your business contact details, and she wants to know how to ensure you don't price yourself out of the market.
So with me or with her business?
Yeah, I think just in general, do you see that much within the community or the Indigenous businesses you work with?
Yeah, it actually comes down to I'll offer like an hourly rate, a daily rate, a weekly rate, with a fixed fee for the engagement itself. And I guess the key thing is, same as I have experience in banking too, was that you can, if you want to help the client or work with the client, work out what their key needs are. And if your needs are, alter the engagement to how much they're able to pay, then you do that, right? It's just being able to have that conversation, and either you arrive at an agreement or you don't, or you find someone that can help.
Okay, cool. And how was your experience in the banking sector? And because obviously there was a banking and financial services Royal Commission recently, and some shocking things came out of it, which we knew in community. But what are some of the challenges Indigenous people face? Getting financial support and banking loans and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So one would be capital in the first place. So one of the things the banks looks at is what's called paying equity. So the amount of capital that you're able to put into to fund a transaction initially, right? So the issue therefore is that if you don't have any money to rub together to start with, it's pretty hard to actually get your foot in the door in the first place. The second one, I think, is, again, I'll just keep on coming back to its cultural competence. I've been in a room whereby you've got traditional owners that have tremendous wealth, but because of the size of the prospective deal, they were dealing with institutional bankers that had a complete inability to be able to communicate with mob, and I was the only one in the room that could talk with both parties. So it was a good place for me, but it's being able to provide that ongoing communication and service delivery in a manner where everyone's valued and respected.
Yeah, how was that really for you though? Like, because I don't mean to generalize, but a lot of these people, especially in the top end of the banking industry, a lot of them come from wealthy backgrounds, and like I find it hard to. They don't really have sympathy for or empathy for what I'm doing. And is that what you found when trying to deal with Indigenous clients? They just there was some hidden biases, or they just didn't get it?
Dan, you're actually asking a leading question there. Just so you know.
Well, I'm still getting used to this, so I'm still learning. So I don't really know what I'm doing. So.
It's okay. In short, yes. But in saying that, I also, as an officer in the Navy, I might have only been the only black face in the wardroom. And it can be, I think, an isolating experience whereby you are consistently the only Indigenous voice or person or body or presence in boardrooms, in the conversation, and that's really hard. And like you, it can be, how do you, for people that have come from quite a wealthy background, how do they conceptualise what it's like to be an Indigenous Australian, and to have the experiences that we've had? I mean, look no further than some of the Adam Goodes films that have just been released, whether The Final Quarter or The Australian Dream, I think bring that to the fore. Or even our mate Briggsy talking about the discrimination his family faced in the 80s with being unable to actually purchase a home because no one wanted to sell to Aboriginals.
Yeah, it's massive, and obviously that lack of intergenerational wealth and ability to get loans and get into the economy is really affecting everybody else. So, everybody in community that I know, or 90% are living paycheck to paycheck, which is hard to break out of that poverty cycle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was first to go to university. I think from the extended family, I may or may not. I'll have to double check with the uncles and aunties. I'm sure they'll let me know straight away after this. But if I wasn't the first to finish high school, I would have been, within the top 3 or top 5. So, within a generation, those opportunities have shifted. But how much? I mean, what we've been hamstrung by, I call it the 2 C's. So you've got financial capital, and then you've got social capital, and then you've also got I'll substitute a third, which is connections as well. So it's you don't have the money, but also you don't have the recognition or to have the backing to get the money in the first place, and then you don't have the connections to support the first 2 points. And so until we can start to address these 3 factors, I think it'll be harder for us to be able to close the gap.
Okay. And we've touched on, some of the bankers and financial people come from wealthy backgrounds, so don't really have.
So we're coming back to this. This is interesting.
A leading question. But what do you think? These organisations, or some of them, have came out and really, targeted Indigenous people in a bad way, like payday lenders, or.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's a question that I think that they would need to reflect on and ponder on. I wasn't involved with that. I don't know their internal processes why they may have opted to make those decisions, and I'd only be engaging in speculation.
Yeah. But do you feel that that the financial and banking Royal Commission was pretty justified? There's some dodgy people out there, and will still take advantage of Indigenous people.
Yeah, of course. But it certainly highlighted issues with the financial sector, and I think it was quite targeted, and rightly so, with some of the issues that they uncovered, and hopefully the government of the day decides to implement most of the recommendations. I think the key thing that we can do as a community and is improving financial literacy. So that's where Barayamal is excellent, because you're actually bringing together a whole raft of Indigenous professionals and entrepreneurs to be able to share our experiences and help grow the business skill set and address the 3 C's I mentioned before.
Yeah. Do you have any personal solutions on how we can improve the access to finance and that kind of stuff for Indigenous people?
Yeah.
Put you on the spot.
One, I think. Yeah, to put me on the spot. Back in the 19th century, there were a number of community-based funding structures. So you had building societies and a couple other cooperatives. Okay. Yeah. So if we are going to look at access to finance, then you're starting for a lot of people from a low base, and that's where you'd be starting. But that shouldn't discount the solid Indigenous middle class that's now emerging, and also now even upper middle class as well. So how can you get some really smart Indigenous men and women in the room, and also getting them helping with establishing those structures to make them successful and sustainable.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And just last question, because I want to keep it, short and sweet, 15 minutes. So if people have problems with their financial person they're working with or experts, what would be the process to try and solve those problems, like as a customer?
Yeah, I think that the key thing is start off with talking to the actual financial professional you've engaged, right? So have a sit down, go back to the actual terms of reference. They should, depending upon the situation, usually you'll have an engagement letter where they'll set out their terms and what they can and can't do. Now, if you think that they haven't fulfilled them and they're not responding to inquiries, then go to their professional body, whether that's Chartered Accounts Australia, New Zealand, CPA Australia, or I think there's another one that just escapes me, and that's quite serious. That's very, very serious. And they will respond quickly to you if you go that route.
Okay, awesome. All right, thanks again for joining us, Matt. Proud to also and ex-Navy officer, went into accounting, and doing amazing things. So thanks again, brother.
Thank you very much, and don't discount yourself with establishing Barayamal as well. It's a wonderful project, and I'm very proud to be a member as well.
Yeah, thank you. And I never, just to be clear, I never paid him for anything. That's why I didn't pay you to say that.
There's no endorsements whatsoever.
Yeah,
okay.
no endorsements.
Have a good day, Dean.
You too, bro. Have a good one.
All right, cheers.